I think probably for me, one of my favourite videos was the one where Mitchell caught him at KFC. Like that, just because that was pure genius on Mitchell's behalf.
All right, so I've just been on the phone to Angry Dad. He's had a massive night last night, feeling real hungover. I'm like, where are you, mate? He goes, just going to get some sushi. And I know Angry Dad far too well to know he's not getting sushi.
So what's he do? He's sitting there and he thinks to himself, where's the closest KFC to where Hannah's dancing is? And literally, he just drove there and sat in the car park. That's how smart he is.
All right, I'm still waiting here. He hasn't pulled in yet. Bet any money he's going to come, though. It's going to be an absolute fucking pisser.
And he sat there and he said, I was about to give up. He said, I sat there for about 15 minutes and I thought, no, I haven't worked this out. And he said all of a sudden his car drove in.
He's fucking here. He's here, I knew it. It's his car. Proof, Angry Dad's car. It's a fucking funny looking sushi, this place.
So he let him go in and get it, and he's just filming him as he's coming out. Now, for me, I nearly fell off the couch laughing at it because I could see he was genuinely so pissed off that he had actually been caught red-handed.
Hey D, how's the chicken gone? That's a funny looking sushi. I'm telling Mum, you won't be able to call out to Sharon for this one. You're supposed to be on a diet. You just got sprung red hand. Red hand. How'd it go down?
Go back to Perth, you dickhead.
Was it nice?
Just fuck off, Mitchell, seriously.
At the start, barely anything was planned. It would just happen.
I'm currently on the roof with a egg, waiting for Dad to get home from the gym. Angry Dad.
But that was just literally 3 minutes before I got home. I was like, fuck, he's on the way home, what can I do? And I grabbed an egg and then I was like, gonna throw it at his feet, and then I was at the roof and I was just like stuffing, and I just pegged it and it went straight in the back of his head.
What? Get out! Get out!
I think when Mitch hit on the roof and threw the egg, it took him a while to calm down from that one. There's been, I think, another one with the hose in the backyard.
It's not fucking working.
Turn it on.
No, fuck off.
You know, those sort of ones, they just happen. Like, already he was trying to fix this darn hose, this sprinkler, and no matter what happened, everything he did, it just kept stopping again.
Now it won't fucking turn off. Turn off so I can hear. Yeah, but that's on. That's on. Turn it off! Oh, you want it on or off? Turn it off, just fuck off. Why won't it turn off now?
Have you pressed the off button?
Shut up! Oh, piss off! Just push the off button. Fuck off, dude. I'm telling you now, you're pissing me off. Go back to fucking Adelaide.
Mitch being Mitch, he's noticing that he's getting more and more angry and, you know, he's about to blow his top. So then they just kept doing more things. And they ended up with one of their mates dressing up in a costume like that. And that was just escalating as the day was going on.
Fucking telling you his father. I'm your father.
There's a few that I've been involved in, but the earliest one was probably the schoolies one. I think I might have been 16 or... Yeah, I think maybe 16, and I asked Dad if I could go on schoolies.
No way.
Why not?
You're 16.
Yeah, well, they said that doesn't matter. They said they'll get me like a fake ID or something.
Not in my fucking dead body.
He was very gullible to even get into that one, but yeah, that was funny.
Why? They'll play for my
Why
flight
not?
and
Just
everything.
let him know.
Sharon, she's fucking 16.
So we filled up a bucket of water with ice. Dad was sitting in his bath and we walked up there and we said, you've been nominated. I think that's how it started. You had to be nominated, wasn't it? Something like that. We walked upstairs to tip it on him in the bath and he was just cursing.
Dad! Dad! Did you get that tag on Facebook?
You've been watching you. You got nominated for AL's Live Fucking Show.
Piss off. No, piss off. I'm serious. Fuck off.
You got nominated.
Don't seriously, Dylan, if you do, you know what's going to happen.
Think about poor.
I don't give a fuck. No, don't. Don't. Sharon.
We didn't even end up tipping it on him. That was probably the strange part in it all. And it still went really well.
We could be anywhere. Even we were in Echuca watching Huddy do his ski race, and I was in, I think, just a shop down the main street with Mark, and people just come up from everywhere like, oh my God, can we have a photo? And it's like, we're in Echuca, like people recognise him everywhere we go.
When Dylan and Mitch prank him, he just goes off. It was at this, I think it was called Garati. Dylan told one of the people that work there, and it wasn't even his birthday, and they brought out a penis cake.
Happy birthday, dear Angela. Happy birthday to you. I wish mine was that fucking big. Blow it. Seriously? Blow it. Not even my birthday.
So, court full of kids, cricket or footy, depending on the season, every night out here for hours. Every night. You know, there's no frills here. You know, it's a commission area of Hamilton, and I couldn't be prouder. It doesn't worry me. We used to put a big bonfire here when Guy Fawkes Night was legal. 5th of November, skyrockets and all that. That we would always build it here on this little bit of area here. There's bigger trees here that were overgrown and have branches. The older boys next door, because they were bullies, would actually get me and their younger brother and tie us upside down, hang us from the tree and shoot skyrockets at us. Can you imagine doing that now? Seriously, so it was either that or get punched. We didn't want to get punched, so we had to surrender. Hey, imagine finding a branch that could hold me now. I'd need one of Sergi's cranes. You know, there's nothing flash about our life. Mum and Dad were hard workers. We lived in a commission house, like in an area that was, you know, fairly rough, but again, had nothing to compare it to. Loved it, was more than happy there, and some great memories. You know, Mum worked, Dad worked, never complained. And all they wanted to do was provide for the family. We never had anything extravagant ever, but we never went without as well, because it wasn't about material things back then. You know, from as long as I can remember, we'd go to the footy every Saturday and support the Hamilton Imperials. So that town rivalry, you know, it was huge. Even the guys that played senior footy in Hamilton, whether it was for Hamilton or Imperials, as kids you looked up to them. And that's playing Western Border League, let alone to think of, you know, the regard that you held any AFL players in if you happened to, you know, bump into one or see one or whatever. And it's true. I've still got signed footies out there from when Imperials won the flag back in, I think it's about 78 or 79, because I was in awe of them and got them to sign this year, and I've still got it. When I wasn't training, again, which is an hour little session type thing, always out the front after school, and there was an SEC pole in the middle of our court, and that was just what you'd aim at. I mean, clearly if you're playing footy you don't want to hit a pole, but that was just about challenging yourself with skills and accuracy and that.
Then you'd have to do it on the left, mate.
From a local footy perspective, I was fortunate enough that one of the toughest players that played in the Western Border Footy League and played for Hamilton Imperials lived across the road, and his name was Mick Noonan. Every night I wouldn't know when Mick would get home, right, and he was just my idol, pride and joy. Probably only 25 I suppose at the time, whatever. So he worked at the local school and would have clearly come home. I would stand about here, kicking shots at the pole here, just so I knew that when he'd come he'd go, give it here. So I'd have the little kick in the little handball and then make my day. So like, he trained at Richmond, tried out for Richmond. His best mate was Jimmy Jess, so had that AFL, well VFL back then, connection, and it was like, wow. I'd sort of stalk Mick knowing what time he'd get home just so I could actually kick it to him. He'd kick it back to me once and go inside, but that was enough. I'd go and have tea, then I was happy. I'd achieved everything I wanted to achieve. It's true, it's actually true. Mum and Dad might have had people around or over, but they'd be out the back in the pool room, having a few drinks with their friends, whatever, and I'd just sit in front of the heater and watch the games religiously on a Saturday night, just to, you know, get your little fix in terms of what all the superstars down here were doing, and I was happy for the weekend.
He always watched football. He always bagged for Bulldogs. Yes. He played in under 9s in the junior league, under 12s, under 14s. Yeah, and he was good at football. Beautiful mark. Good kick.
I played in the Collingwood Little League twice, which, you know, the old half-time. Whereas these days now, there's like 10, 15 games going on at once. They just had one game. And I was lucky enough to play in two. I was there the day that Magro shirt-fronted Jezelenko. I played that day. I played at Whitten Oval, one game, and Princes Park, which is Carlton's home ground, the other. I'll never forget walking off and Vin Cottogio sort of patted me on the head. Well, I didn't wash my hair for about 6 months just because I thought, how good's this? And I wasn't even a Carlton supporter, but it was just, you know, wow. You know, I stand out at junior footy, and at times, you know, like, I think Collingwood first spotted me in, I think it was about 83 as well. So they watched me for 2 or 3, say 2 years. So you're starting to mature a bit, you got a bit taller. I was always skinny, lanky, rangy, was, I suppose, how they described me at that point. So they'd have a junior list and a senior list, and there was 50 kids they'd put on a junior list. That included the Melbourne kids from the zone here and also the country region. I think there was three kids from my area on that, and I was one of them. And like, I nearly died when I first found out that I was on it. And that's when it sort of sunk in that there's an opportunity here, but I was still a long way away from it. I mean, 83, I'm 13. Yeah, and I'm just trying to think out how I did. I think actually what happened, it was printed in like the Herald Sun or equivalent back then. Like, the clubs would print the list and your name was in there. It's like, holy hell.
And Paul Cronage came along and picked him to go to Collingwood. And he left home at 16. He was too young. I think he was far too young. He wanted football, but I wasn't happy. I didn't want him to leave home at 16. So, but that's what he wanted, so John and I just put up with it. When I come down, I moved out and lived in McLeod near Greensborough. So there was 3 of us. There was myself, Greg Fall, another young country kid from down where I'm from, and then a few months later, Mickey McGuan shifted in. It was, 100%. It was extremely hard, but at the same time, the opportunity was just too good to knock back and refuse. Every single kid living in the country that was playing footy wanted to do that, would have loved the opportunity to do that. So did it mean I didn't think every day about coming home and, you know, going back to that country way of living that was so much easier, less hustle and bustle. You know, you could ride your bike, fish, do what you wanted to. It crossed my mind every day, but I never went back. But then at the end of 85, I'll never forget it actually. We lived at that point across the road from the footy club pretty much in Coventry House, which was a house the club built. Instead of going to the footy club because it was off season, I was going home. And this guy, Mickey Skerritt, his name was, he said to me, how come you're not come to training? And I said, I don't have to.
And he goes, yeah, you do. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're on the senior list. I go, what are you talking about? What? Anyway, lo and behold, there's a message for me when I got home to ring Lee Matthews, 419922, because I still remember the phone number. So I rang him sort of trembling, and he goes, Orvs, yeah, lethal here. He wouldn't said lethal, he wouldn't said Lee, but. So we're right to go, you're coming to Perth, and it was like. So I rang and I went over there, and they gave me this 1986 pre-season pack. And it had my name in it, training with the senior group. I'd moved on to the senior list. I was like, so my name is in a column next to David Cloak and Bruce Abernathy and Jeff Rains and Mike Richardson, and you got the Shaws and Tony, of course, Greg Phillips, Mark Williams. What, are you serious? Oh my godfather. That was the start of it, and I'll never forget it. I was like, is this a dream? Can I sort of just wake up and, and just get, I'm over all this? Like, it can't be real.
There to Mullane high to half forward, chance there, oh great mark to Orville at half forward.
And of course then the local radio station wanted to talk to you, and the local paper wanted to talk to you, because, it was half decent news. But what was going to be unbelievable about it was 2 weeks after that, Collingwood and Essendon were scheduled to play at Melville Oval in Hamilton, which was my home ground. So it's like, oh, you are kidding. But of course, what happened? Perth trip, played in the first game, played on Derek Kickett actually. Next morning, just as a, almost like a fun, light sort of exercise after the game, next day, etc. Just had a game of soccer, muck around soccer, and no seriousness about it. Bruce Abernathy bloody slid in and tried to take the ball from me, kicked me in the foot and broke my toe. I was filthy because it meant that there was no hope of me playing against Essendon in my country town that I'd only left 12 months earlier as a skinny 16-year-old kid. And it really put me back a bit, because you lose that last momentum going into the season, and it just pretty much meant that I spent 86 in the reserves and the thirds. Didn't look like getting a sniff in the seniors then. I blame Bruce Abernathy, to be honest, because he didn't have to slide in and do it. It was fun muck around soccer. He wasn't versing Pele.
I actually do remember the very first time I saw him. Apparently he'd seen me earlier in the night in some other pub, and I hadn't seen him, but I was actually with my girlfriends, and I had been living in Ballarat.
I was 19. I was actually 19, and we played Hawthorn in a practice game here, and because I lived with Mickey McGuan, who was a Ballarat boy, the AFL teams had obligations to do country clinics, and we were booked in to do a country clinic on the Sunday in Ballarat. But after we thought, you know what, let's just go to Ballarat tonight rather than wait till tomorrow. Mickey lives there, we can stay at his mum's house, whatever. So we did. And of course, once we got there, can't be back in Ballarat and you can't not go out. Just a couple of quiet drinks, as Mickey McGuan would do. And I didn't need any encouragement, let me tell you. But so we did, and we went to a pub, and there was this group of girls there, and Sharon was one of them. And I didn't talk to her then. But then they all left and went pretty much next door to the nightclub, which we were always going to go to anyway.
And I was actually moving to Melbourne the following day to join the police force. And we went into this nightclub, and I just remember I walked past, and I literally remember clearly because back in that day, there wasn't nearly as many amazingly tall men around. Like these days, there's so many men that are tall, but back then he stood out, head and shoulders above most of the men in the room. So he stood out very clearly. And I remember, we laugh about it now, I said to him, he had like this little posse of girls around him while he was standing there. I remember thinking, he's like a handsome guy. And he's, I didn't sort of think anything more of it. Then later on that night, I think he said something to me that was pretty corny and crappy, a shocking line. And I thought, not so sure about him after all.
Late, it was almost like towards the end of the night, let's say it's 12 o'clock, whatever. I was upstairs talking to some people, and I happened to glance down, and I saw that she was actually leaving. I could just tell because she grabbed her handbag and was sort of almost saying goodbye to people.
And this place had a staircase on both sides, so he was on the other side of the room and he saw me leaving down one of the staircases, so he literally ran down the other staircase and stopped me before I went out the door.
And said, surely you're not leaving? Because I hadn't spoken to her, and I thought I liked her and she looked really nice. And she said, yeah, I'm going, I've got to go because I'm actually moving to Melbourne tomorrow. And I said, surely you can stay for one more drink. And she wasn't even drinking. So anyway, she stayed and we talked, and I think we even had a bit of a dance or something. I know I got some ice thrown at me by someone, but...
I moved to Melbourne the next day and he left me a message because I'd told him that I was going into the police academy, and he left me a message up there asking me out on a date. Do you know where he took me? Footy. Every girl's dream date, hey? Yeah, took me to the footy.
We pretty much have been together ever since.
Once I finished in the police academy, I literally moved in with him in a house in Collingwood for about 4 weeks or something, and then we moved out to Box Hill and lived together for the rest of the whole time. So it's been 30 years or something of living together, so a very long time. I remember at that time when I first met him, his teammates looked up to him, like they saw him as the new up and coming thing that was nearly going to fix a lot of the issues that they were having in the team, or not issues, but as far as he was going to be a player that they needed that was going to be just perfect to slot in, and he was going to be talent. Like, they were looking up to him. All those boys that were in that 90 grand final, they were looking up to him as being someone that was going to be amazing.
I started to actually feel the soreness in the navicular pretty much at the same time that I come back. So you look at it and find it interesting that you've had 6 or so weeks off because you can't run with a broken toe, and then you come back and you have this, but no one knew what it was. I didn't know what it was. It was just soreness in my left arch, and it was one of those things that was explained to me as just soreness, and you'll be right. Keep doing what you're doing.
I didn't know much about it because it wasn't a known factor. Stress fractures were something new.
It was x-rays and bone scans that typically were used to determine fractures, right? No one knew what navicular stress fractures were because they're so minute, and you can't see them with bone scans and x-rays, but we know that now. We didn't know back then. So every time that x-ray or do a bone scan, they wouldn't find anything. Never detected as a navicular stress fracture, even after that whole 86 season. So turned into 87 having time off to rest, to get the foot right, whatever it was.
I recall a time when, we were living in Box Hill. We had this little tiny boxy unit, and it was all stairs. It was stairs from our living area to get up to our bedroom, and stairs from the living area to get into the front door. Like, the whole thing was just stairs, stairs, stairs. And I just remember him being on crutches nearly the whole time we lived there, and having to get up and down these stairs and just being stuck there at home. It was, mentally, it was a real, And
you're young, right? You've never had injury before, so you don't really understand the difference between, pain thresholds and tolerances, and what a certain pain compared to another pain actually is or is all about, etc. So you just do what you're told, pretty much. That's how I tackled 87. It was managing it and dealing with it.
Back in the early sort of 5 years of being in the police force, I was working really long hours. I was 12-hour shifts a lot of the time and longer. So he was on his own and sitting there a lot of that time. He was pretty, it was a really tough time for him. I know he was very down.
After training, I couldn't walk until, you'd get yourself right the next day to train. And I would deal with that I would just sit for probably 20 minutes before I trained and just rub deep heat into my foot, and then put what they call just a boot. So not your conventional ankle strapping, it was almost like a plaster, and that heat actually helped me deal with the pain. So it was unbearable, but I could still play, which sounds stupid, and I'd have needles all the time just to help deal with the pain and all that, which seems crazy looking back on it, doesn't it? What happens is it actually just manifests itself into something worse over time. And eventually basically what happens is a crack gets big enough that I suppose legitimately it's called a break. I pretty much limped through the end of 87, but still managed to play 6 of the last 7 games. And still even when I finished that and the navicular was detected and it was like, here's the go forward plan, we need to go in and put a screw in it. You know, that was just all, okay, that's par for the course. We're going into off season anyway. Let's get in there, get it done as quick as we can. And then it's about recovery and rehabilitation.
That horrible feeling of, you know, you want to play and you think you're going to, and he'd come home from training and I'd just take one look at him and I would know. I wouldn't even say, you know, something's happened, your foot's no good. Or I'd see him at quarter time in the huddle getting an injection, or, you know, and I'd just know that you know, it was all going to fall apart again. So,
you know, so I played 87, right, and then one game 88. So I pretty much missed 15 rounds of 88, maybe 16. Played a couple of reserves games and got straight back into the seniors. And in the sauna on the Thursday night, because I'd go in the sauna and try and get my foot warm and all this sort of shit. These are things that I had to do. Bobby Newton, Bert Newton's brother, he was our sprint coach. He actually come up to me and said, "Orbs, you getting out there? You training? What's going on?" I said, "Nah, sore. It's actually really sore." And he goes, "Mate, I shouldn't be telling you this, but you're in this week." And I've gone, like, I should be so excited, but I was, and you know, I suppose deep down I was, but I was scared and frustrated as well because I knew I had to go and train because I've been told I'm going to be picked. Matthews hadn't even told me. He told me that in confidence. And probably, I reckon, if I look back, that was one of the first times in my own mind I was actually almost defeatist in terms of, if I get selected, I'll play, but I just, in my own mind, I was feeling weak, that I don't think I can contribute because that's the pain that I was in and the predicament I was in. And lo and behold, you know, I played that game in the first, probably not even 10 minutes, just went to twist as you do in a game and just felt it crack. And I just knew it was gone again. So I was clearly not right, and I'd broken the screw. The screw had broken. And, you know, again, I'd do it straight away and straight back into hospital the following Tuesday, and that whole process starts again. And I'll tell you, I found a letter yesterday. Can't even remember Dad writing it or sending it to me, but the letter said, if you wanted to pull, if you at any point want to pull the pin, you know you can always come home at any stage. You know yourself, you're not someone who gives up, you try hard, but I will jump in the car and come pick you up, and don't think you failed. So, makes me a bit emotional, mate, sorry. Having lost Dad not long ago.
There came a time when they just, you know, the dream was gone. He was not going to play. I mean, his foot, he had his whole ankle fused. Like, the fact that he couldn't even run anymore was like, let alone play football.
I was 23 at the end of 91 when we shook hands and pretty much decided that I was wasting their time, they were wasting mine on. I tried 5 different surgeons and it was just beyond repair, pretty much.
So, you know, he had to be delisted and that was the end of it.
They didn't want him anymore. And he didn't get picked up by anybody else, so he just missed out on playing football.
For a period of probably 15 years, my life was hell dealing with all that.
It took its toll on him. It knocked him about a lot. Oh, we'd cry for him. It hurt me heaps and heaps that he suffered like that.
You know, to this day, he still dreams, I reckon, once a week that he's going to play football, and he gets there and he hasn't got his boots, or, you know, he'll wake up and he'll say to me, he's hilarious in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and he'll go, oh my God, I was just about to go on and I know exactly what he's doing. I know he's dreaming about it again. And he'll go, Matthew's about to play me and he was that happy, and and then something always happens and stops him from playing. So for him to still have that dreaming, now to this day, like, that just goes to show how, how it still plays on his mind. He still has that little dream and that little boy's dream in there somewhere.
I can't say I know much about his football career. I could not have been living in the country and moved at 16. So obviously it was something that he really wanted to do.
I think it was more made of a joke nearly to us, I reckon. Like, it was always like, played 7 games, kicked 7 goals. That's as much as I really remembered and ever went into detail.
Do you understand it that young? Probably not. But I was still always around the footy club because he still had mates there and that. So, I mean, I'm sure I would have known, but how much can you understand at that age?
There's always could be wounds that are still healing from it, and I definitely think that's maybe why he doesn't go into depth about what happened in his footy career, because I'm sure if he didn't get injured, which is probably what most of his footy career is based around, if he didn't get injured, who knows how different things could be right now.
I had Dylan 2 years after it, which gave you something to invest your thoughts and your energies and that into, but didn't leave me. And it was about 2 years after that, pretty much if I didn't actually self-assess and listen to Sharon, who had put up with some pretty heavy shit, that I would have lost her and Dylan and Mitchell at that point, and she would have just walked. And she wasn't walking away. I think she just, out of frustration, said, I don't know what else I can do. So I've picked you up so many times. It's actually embarrassing. I'd actually go out with her, and I had a massive grudge on the whole world. And I don't think there'd be a time when I went out where I didn't end up in a fight. If I heard my kids say that now, I'd be so ashamed and embarrassed and be questioning what the hell they're going on about. But that's what it does to you. That's the place it takes you to. And what's all that? What's that about? What's that mean? Well, mate, that whole black dog depression, mental health thing, very prevalent these days, talked about. I never talked to one person about it. And I can sit here categorically, hand on my heart, and say 100%, I shut my mouth and told no one all that time because I didn't want to be perceived as weak. Sharon knew about it, of course, she dealt with it every day. I was not telling anyone else. But if I didn't spend 15 years on medication to get me through it, then I wouldn't have, a missus and kids, because you can't deal with it. And there's no mechanism to deal with it. There's no support to deal with it. Because we're talking back, 95, well, from when I left, but 95, 96, 97-ish, when you accept the predicament. You're in the position you're in, and you need to do something about it. And you need to do that pretty quickly.
I think, there's always been something boiling underneath there that he hasn't dealt with, and unfortunately, sometimes he used to blow his top at the wrong times. Again, knowing what I know and knowing that he's a sort of person that's what he does. He gets angry, he blows his top, and then he's fine. Then he goes back again. I don't think you're ever going to change that about him now. Even knowing that the underlying cause was probably coming from the fact that he didn't deal with a lot of that stuff. That's who he is.
Accepting the fact that my dream had been taken away from me without delivering on my own expectations and what I set out to achieve. I reckon, and it's a bit of self-pity, I suppose, but I felt I'd sacrificed a lot, walked away from family, come down here, and it was almost like the AFL dream owed it to me, which sounds really weird. And because why should this happen to me? And that's what it was. Rather than say, well, it is what it is, and there's so many contributing factors to it. And am I happy with how it was all managed and handled? No. But at the end of the day, again, it is what it is. Things could have been done a lot better, a lot differently. But at that point, you can't change the history. You can't go back. And it was about then trying to accept it, and I couldn't accept it. You know, I got to that point where it was about questioning whether I wanted to be here too. And you know, again, that's something I've never shared with anyone, but there were some serious moments on at least 2 or 3 occasions where probably a minute longer and you wouldn't be doing this interview with me. But the reality is, again, it's real and people know it's real, and they need support and help at those moments when it's, you know, through this digging up, looking for things as part of this, there wasn't one sad moment actually, other than the letter from Dad and a couple of things that are more to do with that and him not being here these days. The whole footy side of things doesn't sadden me one bit, because you sort of look at it, and I've actually put a couple of sort of little snippets on Instagram, almost sort of half boasting, knowing the reaction's going to be, well, you that skinny, look how fat you are now, just to have a bit of a chuckle and a laugh. No sadness, and hasn't been for ages. Actually probably proud in terms of that whole, at least you've had a crack. You know, that good old Aussie way, you had a crack, didn't work, but anyway, it is what it is. Got 2 shithead kids, a good looking young daughter, and a missus. It's not bad, so that's not a bad outcome.
Look, it was heartbreaking. You know, I could still cry about it now. Like, and then, sorry. And then I had to watch Dylan go through it as well, so, yeah.
From the minute I knew what footy was, that was what I wanted to do. I had just an absolute obsession with it.
From the minute that child could sit up, he was only happy if he was holding a ball.
Dylan's dream was always to play AFL, and we all knew it. And he was good at it. Like, it was always something that we thought was definitely a possibility, which I think was great. He played footy all through high school, you know, like leaving school.
Dylan was the more polished kid that always had the skill and potential. Didn't come out till he was probably 15. It sort of grew a little bit. Penny dropped with him, and he had a good under-16 year.
He was the most slick kick of the football. He had the most beautiful kicking style from a very young age. Like, it took him to Auskick, and it was almost like, you know, this is going to do him more harm than good if someone starts changing how he's kicking the footy, because Mark had already put in all that work with him. So, yeah, it was Dill's little pipe dream from the beginning.
I just played a game for Victoria on the Sunday, I think it was, and I had a game for school a couple of days later up in Geelong, and I was really sore. And Dad, I woke up that morning for the game, but it was in Geelong, so we had to get on a bus, and we didn't take extra players and that sort of shit, and Dad was sort of trying to talk me out of it that morning, and I was like, no, I got to play, like, you know.
I had a dream the night before that happened. Can you believe that? I remember getting up and going to say goodbye to him when I was going to work. I didn't tell him I'd had the dream, but I'd had the dream he did his knee. And I said, and he was actually a bit sore. I think his back was sore, or he had some other little niggling injury. And I looked at the weather, and that was my excuse. But I said to him, are you going to play today? And he said, I'll see how I go, maybe, maybe not. And I said, you know what, if I was you, I wouldn't. The weather's shit. It's not your conditions anyway. But yeah, see how you go.
I remember doing the warm-up, and I was like, I fucking don't feel good. Like, my hips were killing me. I just felt shit house. And anyway, the coach was like, well, we didn't bring anyone else up, so you got to play, we'll play you out of the square and whatever. And I think it was the first quarter, yeah, just got slung in a tackle, and as I landed, I was over-rotating and just had a big pop and fucking bang. Anyway, I remember got dragged. I was right in front of the bench, so I just fucking pretty much crawled off, fucking burst into tears just because I knew it was something bad. Like, it wasn't even extremely painful. Because it wasn't extremely painful, you know, I've got people going, no, you'll be fine. Like, you know, you're sort of up and about, and I just knew, like, based on the feel and the sound, I'm like, this is fucking not good. I rang Dad on the way home, and he couldn't believe it.
I said, how'd you go? He goes, you're not going to believe it. I said, why, what happened? Did you play? And he goes, yeah, I've done my knee. And I said, oh, fuck off. He goes, I've done my knee. I said, Dylan, don't fucking around with things like that. It's not funny. Like, he goes, Dad, I've done my knee. I just went silent. And I said, you are kidding.
And from there on, yeah, that was 12 months rehab at Oakley. Didn't play Vic. The Vic squad let me train with them still the next year. I didn't play any games. Didn't get to do AIS. Just never really got back to my full potential. I was going to be a top 20 draft pick potentially the next year. That went from top 20 to I ended up getting rookied. So missed out on the whole draft and then got in the rookie draft. So.
Well, Dylan, how excited are you, mate, as well, to be picked up on an AFL list?
Yeah, I'm very. It's still, sinking in. It's quite a shock, but yeah, I think it's slowly starting to become a bit more realistic, and yeah, can't wait. When I saw my name yesterday morning, it was just a massive shock. Didn't really kick in for a while.
Got to Adelaide, and it was just injury after injury after injury.
No doubt your dad, Mark, would have played a fair role in forming you as a player. What sort of things has he told you that you sort of hold dear to yourself?
Yeah, definitely. He was one that probably guided me most through all my footy. He had the navicular stress fracture, so he had about 10 or so operations on his foot, which cut his career short. So I think he really wants to see the rest of his career out through me.
In the 2 years, he never played a game for Crows, but in that 2 years, I reckon he did 5 or 6 hamstrings, 7 hamstrings.
For 2 years, I was pretty much in rehab for just 2 years straight. The darkest place of all time rehab. If you're in there by yourself, I mean, the boys get in during the week. It's just about recovering for the next game. You're in there at fucking 5:30, 6 o'clock every morning, swimming, bikes, weights, running. Like, you just get fucking flogged every day. They're in there. They got their team meeting, massage, ice bars, go home, getting ready for the game on the weekend. Yeah, it's dark.
And see, I don't know what was going on because we weren't living there. And yeah, but it took its toll. It took its toll on him. It knocked him about a lot. He got a couple of runs over there, but he couldn't cope with it either. I reckon the same thing happened to Dylan. Depression.
The whole meeting when I got delisted was just like, fuck, the world just come crashing down. You get taken into a room in somewhere in Melbourne. They were down in Melbourne. And they pretty much just said that they decided they're not going to give me another contract, and that was it. See you later. I fucking walked out of the building and I'm standing on, I can't remember what street it was, and it was like, that was it. There was no help, no support after that. My whole fucking dream had just been completely ended right in front of my eyes. I just bottled everything up, and then it'd get to the point where it'd be too much, and I'd made sure no one was home, or I'd have to go somewhere else, and I'd just sit somewhere and just cry for hours on end. I didn't deal with it at all. I look back now and there's a lot better ways to deal with it, but I had those thoughts that you should never have. Like, I wanted to... Yeah, it's hard to talk about, to be honest.
It crushed him. I know that it hurt him a lot, like what happened. Dad has experienced exactly what Dylan was about to go through, so it would have been really great for Dylan to have that guiding hand through all of it. But from like a first-hand point of view, because Dad had been through it himself.
To see him and Dylan connect on that level, for that, it was good for, not only good for Dylan to have him around, but it was actually good for Mark, because Mark, I think, dealt with a little bit of his own stuff through what happened with Dylan as well. At the end of the day, people can look at it and say, oh, look, it's just football. Well, it's actually not. It's their one dream, their big dream. It's like, you just have it whipped out from under your feet. You can put all that hard work in, you can do everything right, and it's just nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. There's just this one thing, this injury, or there's something that just, and it's that little moment, and next thing, the whole thing's gone. Your whole world just crumbles away.
It was a really, really sad story of lives mirroring one another. And I don't say that sitting here feeling sorry for me and or for him. This is just about reality. And again, there's so many worse things that could happen, but this is just another chapter of the situation. To this day, there's been no proper diagnosis on why the hell can you have 10, 12, 15 hamstrings from an ACL operation. You know, mine, it was simple. I played with it for 2 years, undiagnosed. It was a stress fracture. We didn't know it was there. And then they operate, screw in too far, put 2 more in, they break, put 2 more in, 1 breaks. So like hindsight, you look back, we know what happened. No one knows why in his situation he had so many hamstrings. What actually happened that caused all those?
You know, it's funny because Dylan actually does the same thing. I think he said to me literally 2 days ago, he dreamt the night before that, and his dream, Dylan always, because Dylan was injury as well, so he always dreams that he's trying to run and he's fine, he's doing a bit of warm-up jogging, and the minute they have to sprint, he can't sprint. It's like everyone else is sprinting, but he goes to sprint and all he can do is jog, and everyone shoots past him and then he's embarrassed and then he tries to think of a reason to come off. That's what happens with him. So he's doing exactly the same as Mark and having those same... He'll probably have the same dreams for the rest of his life too.
Because he had more potential than me, is the way I would have looked at him. He just didn't get a chance to show it, 100%. Way more motivated by the AFL career dream than me.
This is probably one of the biggest issues with mental health, and that is not enough people understand it. And there's no easy way to deal with it. No two people have the same problem and then can have it dealt with the same. Like, every case is so different. But for me, it's about talking about it. The worst thing you can do is not talk about it. Bottling it up is just terrible, and it's until you speak to someone for the first time, you won't understand why talking about it's better. And maybe not even the first time, it might take till the 10th time you talk to someone about it before you realise that getting it out actually does help. And then I come back from Adelaide and I was hashtagging Angry Dad on all my Snapchats, and I was just getting, you know, some good feedback in terms of, you know, just laughing, I guess, from mates.
My dad is actually, like, I would have to say the first thing that comes to mind is that my dad is the, like, most caring and generous person ever. I just, like, could never explain how generous and selfless he is as a person. Like, I definitely look up to him in that aspect. My dad's, like, always been Angry Dad. I guess it's just him. Yeah, it's definitely not like he didn't just, like, get to a point and all of a sudden become this, like, grumpy old man through age or something. It's definitely always been, like, a poignant part of his, like, personality. It was always a thing, the whole, like, pranking dad. Growing up, it was... Well, Dad did it to his dad and my mum's dad. So I guess it was almost karma anyways.
It probably began way back with stuff that Mark used to do to my dad. He's always been a prankster. It's about knowing how to push his buttons. Just watching him go off for fun is what they've always enjoyed.
It stresses me out, some of the things they do to him. Oh, but he's asked for that because he was the same.
For me and Mitch, it was something we always did with Dad. We've forever taken the piss out of him. We've forever stitched him up. He used to do it to Mum's dad a lot. So I guess that's sort of where it all started in terms of our opportunity. I went overseas to America with a few mates. Mitchell did a few more. Someone sent Mitch a message saying, why don't you start a Facebook page? Because that way people can tag other people that don't have to be friends with you. Otherwise it's just on private.
Sitting there and I was like, and then I remembered the Simpsons thing, Angry Dad. Remember when Bart did it to Homer? So I just remembered that and I was like, fuck, I'll just call it Angry Dad. And we uploaded a few videos, maybe got 2,000 likes on the page in a couple of weeks, and I was like, fuck, that's crazy.
And it was like, holy shit. What 2,000 sick people in this world want to watch us? I can put talcum powder on a donut for Dad and watch him eat it, or, you know, hide the Foxtel remote or change the channel from out the window. And then sort of 2,000 went to 10,000, and then it was like even more sick.
And then we did a video of him eating chili.
That's fucking hot, honey. Huh? That's fucking hot.
No, it's not temperature hot.
It is hot, actually.
That is fucking hot!
It's stuffy in here, isn't it?
What have you fucking done to it?
What are you talking about?
It is fucking hot!
And it took the page to about 50,000 in 48 hours.
It's fucking hot!
It's not white. It's a pepper.
Don't! Put it on high. Piss off. Fuck off, Mitchell. Seriously.
Yeah, it was on Fox 8. It went everywhere.
And then it was, to 50,000. And then all of a sudden, 50, I remember hitting 200,000 and we were like, what the fuck's going on?
Hey guys, me and Dad have got a meeting in the city at 4 o'clock, so I decided to just make a little sign for the back of the Jeep, which I know that he's gonna fucking appreciate.
Definitely the most, like, well-known one would be the honk if you're horny video, where I put the sign on the car.
Get fucked. It's not green yet, you dickhead. Fucking impatient. Fucking look at that, mate.
He's giving you a death stare.
What the fuck? What am I supposed to do? It's fucking 80 here.
The honk if you're horny video was going up about 1,000 likes on the video nearly every refresh.
What are you fucking looking at? Seriously, fucking hell, man. It's this fucking bloke's problem too. Now he's fucking waving to me. What the fuck? He's a fucking lunatic. What do you mean, you idiot? Seriously, fuck me dead. Yeah, no fucking worries, mate. What's he fucking looking at, the dickhead? Fucking full moon.
It would go up at least 1 million an hour in terms of views when we posted that. And the page would jump 2,000 to 3,000 likes. I refreshed too.
He's fucking bipped at me. Hang on a sec, you fuckhead, it's red. Hang on a second. Fucking hell, it's just gone orange. Oh, you are a dead set fucking cockhead, Mitchell. You are a dead set fucking moron.
No wonder everyone was tooting you.
You are a fuckhead. You are a fucking absolute. You're a fucking idiot.
Between Unilad, Lad Bible, our page, YouTube, it was at least 100 million views on that video. And it was my favourite one too.
And you could just sit there and sort of refresh the page and it was going up 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 people at a time when we were putting out viral videos. And then, then it was 500,000 and then we thought, oh fuck, that's going to be it. But then it was 600, then 750, then you got 800,000 and it was 900,000 and we thought, fuck, surely we're going to hit the million. And we're in Mildura doing a nightclub gig when we were close to 1 million. And I remember we were just about to head out to this nightclub and we're at the guy who was sort of looking after us. So we're at his house having a beer and we remember refreshing it and it just had 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And we were all just like, fuck. We just started smashing beers together and sculling them. And
yeah, I can't believe it. Everyone says to me, did you watch Angry Dad? I said, no, I didn't. Don't watch it. Oh, I watch it all the time. When I'm down and out, I turn it on and I watch it all the time. So he's pretty popular.
The boys were doing some work with Kiss and they said it was about time we got these little bastards back. So cut a long story short, they actually had the boys believe that they were casting for a Foxtel show. I think it was called Prank City.
Time's come to get them back. So to do that, all for Father's Day, I've rolled out the big guns.
Hi everyone. We're going to assist in getting these boys back.
Watch your back, boys.
It was done so legit that Foxtel wanted to do a TV show with me and Dylan. And they flew us to Sydney. We had Foxtel scripts. We got to Foxtel Studios. There was a team in there, everything like that. And we got given this script.
welcome to Prank City. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Mitchell. And we're two brothers who love taking the mickey out of our old man.
We've done some awesome pranks, which has left our dad angry.
They're like, oh, this could be good. Welcome to Prank City. This is Dylan. I'm Mitchell. All this shit. I'm going, you idiots. You absolute morons.
Like, got to click to the camera, point, like all this stuff. And I was like,
Really animate this one.
Right.
I'd say give it another extra 30% energy.
Right. Plus, details on how sending in your video can win you stacks of cash.
It's all coming up here on Prank City.
Awesome. Was that good?
Yeah, that felt a bit better.
And what happened was they were due to fly out there, let's say it's a Wednesday. I went up there on the Tuesday and we pre-filmed me doing my bit as part of this Prank City Foxtel show as well.
Come on through. All right, guys, do you want to swap over now? Yep. And I've just set the camera up to record, so
Yeah,
just,
cool.
yeah. So if you just watch and just take it in mental notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Into here, so here.
And then just step around there.
Pretty much around here.
Okay, yeah, cool.
What they thought they were seeing was me live doing it, yet we cut to what we'd pre-taped the day before.
Whenever you're ready, I'll just whenever you're ready.
Okay. G'day guys, welcome to Prank City. There's nothing worse than being a victim of a prank. Then again, there's nothing better than actually...
Jesus! Luke! Get on the f***ing fire! Jesus Christ! Oh, God, look out! Fucking hell! Luke! Yeah. What the f***? Sucked in, you f***ing idiot! You absolute morons! Sucked in. Reality TV show comes on in 1 second. Oh. Yeah, you got me. Oh, you peanuts. Absolute peanuts.
Yeah, you ultimately got me there.
That was almost one of the best stitch-ups that had happened because we just were so oblivious.
It was actually priceless, to be honest. It was actually good. It was actually good. Just to see their guts squirm for about 3 seconds was actually satisfying enough for me. It just played out the way it played out. So from day one till now, you know, there's never been a plan. Clearly Mitchell and Dylan might have had a plan themselves in terms of different activations and the like. I'd finished up with my last job about 2.5 years ago, and they wouldn't renew. I was one of the senior execs there. They wouldn't renew my employment contract. And it was because the then CEO didn't want one of his execs on the internet telling their kids to get fucked. Like, little did he know, there was an opportunity to use that to their advantage and open doors, and realised that I'm actually a professional executive and can actually style flex and control myself, you know, at a boardroom level and do all that sort of shit. And what he sees on the internet is about 0.01% of me, my life and how I act, and if there's no imbeciles around, I'm a nice person. My 2 kids happen to be imbeciles, so that's how I act accordingly at that point. But yeah, it actually cost me my corporate life. So any jobs going out there? I need a job, actually. I've never made a cent out of Angry Dad, and people sort of look at you and think, geez, wow, you're killing it. That's why, and you know, so for me, I don't care. That's not what all this shit was about. This is just us opening ourselves up to the world with how our family operate. So it was never commercially driven. It's just me having probably a tolerance threshold greater than most dads would ever have, accepting the fact that you know, it's opened some doors for them, but it's, at the same time, there's 100 videos you haven't seen because they never got anywhere because I was smarter than the boys. So it may be hard to understand, but that's fact. I'm assuming that we are so like what every other family is like, so therefore relatable, which is why people are interested in us and what we do and who we are. And
we were just lucky enough to sort of get it on the internet first, but everyone can relate to it. Everyone has their, like I said, a father or something who will crack the shits over someone changing the channel or talking too loud throughout the news. And
you know, his reactions are funny, but it's always like, oh my God, this is so much like my dad, or oh my God, my dad does the same thing. And I think that's where everyone can like kind of enjoy the videos, because it's just like their dad.
The main thing is it's got to be relatable. If it's not relatable, people, like, that's where you get that whole viral traction, because it's people tagging saying, oh my God, this is us with dad, this is us to mum, oh my, this is you guys, this is like, that's where you get that whole traction. If you're not having a positive influence, you're gonna fall off.
You know, we're no different to every other family. So I can only come back to that.
I absolutely love them. I couldn't ask to be like in a better family, really. From the outside looking in, everyone's like, oh, is it fake? Is it this? I'm like, they're actually the nicest people you'll ever meet. Yeah, I feel really lucky.
I think my dad should be incredibly proud of who he is. And the one thing I would probably say is that I don't always show it, but I absolutely adore him. I mean, he's the most incredible dad. I couldn't have asked for anything more from him, so I just hope that he knows I love him very much.
And I guess the fact that we all still get along so well as a family, people admire that because we take the piss out of him and we piss him off majorly, but we're still such a tight-knit family.
We fight like shit, like every family does, but at the same time there's one thing that's a given, and whether it's Hannah or the boys or Sharon, whatever, we've all got each other's back. From my perspective, it's just been, you know, your family's continued to develop, mature and go through the different phases of their lives, and what's happened, and you know, we're just now at another exciting part of that where a new little fella's just come into the world, and we'll see what joy and fun that brings to the family dynamic, and see what the next chapter holds.
This is Bo. Come here. Hey, he's just about due for a feed, so he's a bit upset. Oh, so this is Bo. He is now, what did we work out? 10 days old. There we go. He's right now. He's got so he's 10 days old. We had him on the 21st of July at 6:22 p.m. and he's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I was in a Chuka for the weekend, and then that night I came in at 9 o'clock, and then I had a little hold, and I didn't even know that it would happen. That happened already, and then just as soon as I walked into the room, I just got really happy and excited.
Obviously it's quite daunting and scary, you know, there's a lot of things that come with being a dad, but it's super exciting, and it's just, you know, everything changes. It's all about them now. It's not about you, it's about this little fella. And there was always one thing that Dad told me, it was, it's okay to be disappointed, just don't regret anything. So, you know, try everything, do everything as well as you can. You're going to be disappointed at times, just don't regret anything. So that'd be my mantra for him too. I think it'll always be like a part of us, you know what I mean? Like if all of a sudden the filming and the uploading stops again, I'm tipping this will just forever happen like it always did. You know, what you're seeing on the internet has happened for forever. It's only just started being uploaded. So I'm tipping that whole jovial, humorous, prankster side of the family will always be there, and I'm tipping at some stage it'll be either Huddy or Bo doing it to me, or when Mitchell has kids, his kids doing it to Mitchell, or, you know, it won't die.
Society's actually pretty sad and depressed generally, and that's actually a big call, I know that, but they are, and I see it and I experience it firsthand from people from all walks of life, from not only Australia but other countries around the world as well, that say that I don't know how you put up with your kids, but at the end of the day, without these videos, and we stumbled across them, or what, doesn't matter, that without these videos, I wouldn't get through some days. And we know it's an old cliche, laughter's the best medicine. And when you think about it, you know yourself, when you laugh, you feel happy, it makes you feel good. But you don't think of it any more than that I've just had a laugh and I feel good, as opposed to those people that are seeking out, finding something to make them laugh. And they use those videos to do that. So as much as I hate the little pricks and they annoy the shit out of me, when I'm dead and buried, if I've left a legacy that you've made someone else laugh and turn what was otherwise a really shit situation into something more positive, then I'm happy to suck it up.
Chance for Collingwood as he comes in now. High kick. Oh, it's dropping well short. Oh, nice manoeuvring there by not first gamer. He's only had a handful of games, Mark Orville. Of course, Brian Taylor out of the side.
Yes.
He's played 4 games, has Mark Orville. Brian Taylor, the star full forward, dropped. Mark Orville in as full forward, and he should kick his goal. He has. First blood on the board to the Magpies.
Good positioning there by Orville, but I also think that he was helped by the breeze that sometimes gets into the MCG here and swirls around, and that ball did seem to carry. It was a poor kick off the boot from Malone, but the Essendon player anticipated falling a bit shorter and it floated over the top to Orville.
Yes, a little bit of inexperience by Nick Walsh there. Quite obvious. A good start for Collingwood. It was Kroll that got the ball in the lane.
Angry Dad's loving it.
Fuck off, Mitchell! Stop it!
You loving it?
Mitchell, fucking turn it down.
Good tune that. You like it? You were rocking out to it, buddy. You should actually start going clubbing. Dad?
I'll fucking club you straight around the fucking head.
Dad, I reckon you should start shredding and go to stereo this weekend.
I'll fucking shred you, Mitchell. Turn the fucking thing off, Mitchell!
Away from work. Got yourself an air horn.
It's in the shed.
Scare cam.
You scared the living fuck out of me!
Alright, Dad's got to go pick up my sister, so I'm going to go hide in his boot and scare the shit out of him.
Give me your wallet! Oh, fuck off, you dickhead! You are a fucking idiot, Mitch. I've just had a fucking kitten.
Got milk carton and some sticky tape.
Oh, for fuck's sake! What the fuck? Ah, he's fucking back! You're a fucking rot! Mitchell! You fucking... Did these not get you? Mitchell, you've been a fuckwit, now get out!
Nutella donuts, talcum powder.
What the fuck is it? We're 2 minutes into the fucking trip and you shit yourself.
Dad's watching TV. I'll take it the Foxtel remote.
Fucking telly! For fuck's sake! Telly! Fuck! I don't want that one! Mitchell! What are you fucking done with the coat, you dickhead? Hey, it's snowing outside, Dad! It's snowing! It's snowing! Fuck off!